All right, guys, our second panel of the day will be tackling a very important topic about the generation of women in science. Our panelists are Dr. Maryam Matar, founder and chairperson of UAE Genetic Disease Association, founder and chairperson of UAE Down Syndrome Association, and deputy chairperson of Dubai Cares. Put your hands together for Dr. Maryam Matar. We're also having Dr. Hayat Sindi, a Goodwill Ambassador of UNESCO, advisor to Secretary General His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, and founder of IT Institute. Please put your hands together to Dr. Hayat Sindi. Mrs. She's going to be our third panelist. Please put your hands together for her. Also, we're going to have Dr. Habiba Al Safar. Please put your hands together for her. She's the director of Khalifa University Biotechnology Center, assistant professor also for engineering. Thank you. Finally, we're going to have the moderator for this discussion, Mr. Walid Aradi, and he's the Chief Executive Officer and Global Leader for Tahsin Consulting. Please put your hands together for Mr. Walid. Thank you.
Is this on? Everyone can hear me? Yeah. Okay, welcome to our panel. Good morning. The discussion today is about women in the generation of women in science. It's a huge field. We all agreed in the back room that actually half an hour is not enough. We probably need several hours to discuss this, so I'll get right to it. Most, if not all, Arab countries have indicated their desire to move towards knowledge-based economies. While a lot of analysts might disagree what a knowledge-based economy is or what it means. One thing is for sure that STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, are central to achieving that objective. Women are an integral part of our societies and our economies, and they are integral to achieving the goal of moving towards knowledge-based economies. And while we do see fantastic examples of pioneers like our distinguished panelists today, women still face implicit and explicit challenges when entering into STEM fields. To give you an example, the percent of women who are enrolled in tertiary education in most countries in the Arab world, the percent of women is higher than that of men. Yet when it comes to STEM fields, they're actually a very small percentage. And an even smaller percentage end up pursuing careers or starting businesses related to these fields. To discuss these issues and more, we're going to be first talking to Her Excellency Dr. Maryam. Dr. Maryam, can you please tell the audience from your perspective and from your experience, what are some of the challenges that women face? What can be done in order to attract them towards STEM fields?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Again, it's really my pleasure to be here today, and I'm really honored to be next to a lovely star when it comes to science in the Middle East, Dr. Hayat Sindi. And we here in Dubai, I think, so lucky to attract such minded here. And for sure, the rest of my colleague on the panel. When we talk about science, and I believe if you'll go back to the history about science and women, they played a really huge and essential role when it's come to science. So they were there in the field of science community, but the whole challenge was for them to stay or to maintain a leadership position in the science. And if we talk about the challenge between women in science, it's not only in United Arab Emirates or in the Middle East, it's internationally. You can see, for example, we'll go back to Nobel Prize, which is one of the prestigious prize everybody is looking forward as an end goal for any scientist. Majority of them are male. Only 12% of them are female throughout the history of Nobel Prize. So that itself reflects another challenge, that women are still in the field of science are not taking a leading position. Is that because of lack of knowledge? No. Is that because of lack of confidence? No. But what I believe in is that the policy and procedures in all those research center or academia institute are not maintaining a very healthy and well-organized career development for them. So this is one of the challenges, policy and procedure, especially legislation, on a national level, also on an institutional level. The other challenge, being a woman, we are really enjoy our motherhood. We enjoy being wife, being mother. We would like to give really very well and maintain a healthy balance between career and familyhood. But it is not easy. Sometimes it gets difficult. And for women to maintain that healthy balance between her family life and her career life, she should be lucky enough to have the real gentleman who will help her and support her and understand that what she will be doing at work, it will, in the end of the day, will reflect positively in her community, in her family life. So it is the support which she's supposed to get from her family and from the community. And the third challenges, which I believe it is not helping women to be in the leading position in the science field. It goes back. If I talk about I'll talk about United Arab Emirates specifically. We can see that we had an earlier discussion where Dr. Habiba, she said that more than 62% of the graduate of medical colleges and health science colleges are female. But that number doesn't reflect in their career, where you can see even not half of that number are existing. Simply because those positions are not well paid, number one. Number two, it's it's always coming with lack of infrastructure. For example, you are a scientist, you love conducting research, you would like to have a proper, legislation which helps you to maintain the whole a credible approach of research where the infrastructure needed. You need a proper research center and institute which help you. Whenever you are running your research, it can be recognized immediately internationally. So I believe that those are some of the area where are lacking. But again, saying all of that, if we'll see United Arab Emirates in the past, especially in the past 10 years ago, we can see that there is dramatic improvement in supporting knowledge in United Arab Emirates. And seeing women in the leading position for science and knowledge, not because only the government is supporting women, simply because they are the majority of the human resource which are available with strength and are available in the market with strong knowledge and the right certificates.
Great, fantastic. I think we're going to delve into a lot of these issues that you raised, which are extremely important in more depth. Dr. Hayat, Sindi, I want to discuss your experience. You're involved on a global level on empowerment of women in science. Are there fundamental differences between the challenges that women face in the Arab world and in other countries? or other regions?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's a great question. I did a paper in United Nations about empowering of women in science and technology. And I did a study about both boys and girls, their contribution or their grade marks from primary school up to graduation from university. And you see the trend everywhere in the world. We see increase trend in grade mark for boys and girls, but always the girls exceeding the boys. And even with the university, we have more a female graduate with maths and science than men. But when we come back, as Dr. Maryam mentioned, to the how many Nobel Prize winners of female is only 3%. 17 women compared with 538 men. I think this is a common problem across the world. My biggest challenge for me, yes, we have more women intelligent, yes, we have opportunity for them, but the main problem for me, what is worrying me the most, is they are missing from the leader position in deciding the direction of science. What do I mean by that? If we have women directing an institution or how science should be, what we focus on, we won't have nuclear weapon, we won't have killer laser beam, we won't have fast cars, we'll have something else. Artificial intelligence now is going to take over by the world. And I asked a group of men and a group of women, if we have artificial intelligence with robots, what will you use it for? Most men, they said we use it in the minefield, which is understandable to save lives. Most women, they said we use it to test for Ebola and contagious diseases. We think differently, but both of us complement each other. The other challenge for women not to be involved in science and technology is not attractive to them. Most of them, they go and do medicine. Why? Because the way we sell science to them, we sell it dry and boring. So we need to sell the people who are benefiting from science. For example, MRI is a huge technology benefiting patients, benefiting doctors, benefiting communities. So women cannot see the direct direction when they do science or engineering. They prefer to do medicine, and that's a challenge. So we need women to be in the direction of science so they can attract more girls to be a role model for them. And also we need to sell the stories about people using science for young girls rather than the technology itself.
But do you think that the challenges that women face in the Arab world are different than in other places?
It's not a big difference, because we have here the curriculum for both of them. We have more actually a female in Arab world studying science and math compared with boys. Actually, no. But as I mentioned, when they go for the career to work in the private sector, the drop, for example, in Saudi Arabia, the drop from 66%, and this is the UNESCO statistic, drop to 1 or 2%. Why? Because it's not attractive for them. They don't want to do computers, they don't want to do engineering, they want to be doctors because they want to see the human connections. Women by themselves, they want to see the human connections. And the benefit of that we lack in our society. Let me give you an example. When the airbags were designed in early days, most of the decision makers of the team of designing the airbags were men. So they thought about to protect the driver, but they end up a lot of women and children, catastrophe accidents, and they died. Not until the woman became in a decision maker team, she thought about the driver, and we have the side airbags because of women. That's her mentality. She wants to have a direct help. So it doesn't matter. There's no big difference. Yes, maybe we need to have more inject. I think maybe Habiba will talk about that. Money for research. Maybe we want to have the freedom of research. But in terms of her capability, Arab women are capable like any women in the world, not more intelligent. But when I did my study, most women, they like to go directly to have human connection, human touch to help, because that's her nature. That's the way she made up.
Fantastic. Before moving to you, Dr. Mrs. Totanjian, I wanted to, kind of leverage your experience because, I heard you earlier say that, you worked in Jordan, or you are from Jordan, and you work here. We saw that there are no differences, or maybe we should have started with you by saying, are there differences between challenges that women face in entering STEM fields between Arab countries? So do you see that there is a difference between Jordan, let's say, and the United Arab Emirates?
Well, there are differences, individual differences between the countries. The extent of those differences, we are launching at the center I'm working with a Tamkeen program to enable young Arab women scientists in the leadership field, in science. And part of that would be to do a in-depth study to understand those differences. But some of those differences stem from the stereotyping that is in the textbooks, the social norms. They don't enable the women to go into science so much. My background is not science. I'm a social marketer by practice, and in 1997, I was asked to come in with my marketing skills to contribute to the water sector in Jordan because we had major water issues. And I still recall the first meeting I went to, I was the only female on the table. And by being a female there with a couple of engineers, I was handed some papers to photocopy. And I was looking at them, I'm not here to photocopy papers, I'm here to contribute on how we can curb demand, because men look at water from a certain perspective. It was building more facilities, while women are the users of water in the household. So I would just like to contribute to what my previous colleague said. We bring a different perspective. We're not in competition or that we're claiming we understand more, but we bring a different perspective to the table, that if it's overlooked, the final product might be rejected or it might not achieve the intended purpose. So it is very important to bring that perspective, and I think that's why a lot of countries, not only in the region actually, there are leadership programs in Canada, there are in Africa, in the US. We've been trying to look at those models to see how we implement them in the Arab region, but we're not unique in that perspective. We might have gone on the boat a little bit later than other countries, but we're not unique. Like even if we look at the US, which currently says they're the most advanced and they enable women, they allowed women to vote only 100 years ago. So it is a new experience that as a global citizens we're facing and we're pursuing.
You mentioned education, and I want to take this to the next level with you, Doctor. Do you feel that you're an educator, do you feel that there are biases in the offerings that are available to women, the curriculums? Is that something that you see as a challenge or not?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I believe the number of female choosing a science as a major has outshined men's number. And in UAE, 2/3 of female that are majoring in science. But the number does not replicate in the work. That's because of a lot of issues that my colleagues shared. I've been working in academia for 5 years now. In Khalifa University, we have equal opportunity for female and male. We have an approach that says education is for everyone. And that's reduced the gap, the gender gap between female and male. We have more than 50% are female engineer, and same with male. I think in the UAE, women are exceptions. That's because we have family, society, and leadership. They are encouraging girls as much as the boys. That's why we don't have any issue with the gender. But when it comes to the challenges of the female they face, I think challenges and obstacles is everywhere, in science, in business, in each step of our life. These challenges can be overcome by confidence, and education, when proven, it's a powerful weapon for women to give her that confidence. Basically, technical education, for example, it's a great tool for survival for women, but in a creative way. So I believe also creating a role model for women in science, which we can see it lately, has been in media great. They are playing a great role of creating a role model for young scientists. And as you can see, we have a lot of women. They are doing a great breaking ground discovery, like Dr. Hayat, mashallah. She is one of the pioneers in the biotechnology field, and Dr. Maryam Matar, she done a lot of amazing job in the genetic field. So I get a lot of comments from female. They ask about science. They ask about the challenges and how it's difficult to do it. But to be honest with you, I got all my 3 degrees from 3 different continents, from US, from Europe, UK, and the PhD from Australia. In each country, I can't tell you how many times I've said it, that we are in a great nation. We have a great leadership in our country in terms of encouraging women in science.
What is the role of university? So you're saying that the situation here in the UAE is an exception, and naturally it has developed over the years. So there are people here from different parts of the world. How, if I'm getting it right, you're saying that the UAE is a model. So specifically with the education system, with universities, let's say, how can that model be replicated in other countries? What is it that makes the UAE special? So leadership is one. I think one of my favorite quotes from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid is, he said something along the lines of, we don't empower women, we empower societies with women. And I think that's absolutely fantastic and very visionary. But aside from leadership, which is extremely important, let's talk about the education sector. What can be done and how can it be emulated elsewhere? What I'm trying to do is to go beyond, within the ideals of this conference, which is to move from idea to execution.
Yeah.
What can be done?
Well, as I said before, the number of enrollment of female in science, it's outshine, but the number does not replicate in the workforce, in the research. A lot of things has to be done in the research, such as like a lot of Western countries, they have the money they spend on research is from 4 to 6%, where in this region it's 0.4 to 0.6%. We do have a lot of challenges and lack of centers that are very research oriented. As Dr. Maryam said, the salaries that scientists, they don't make a lot of money basically, and they are not paid very well. So we, on the university side, in order to encourage more research or research career for female, we need to kind of provide an opportunity or excel in the research field by having technical teachings, vocational educations, by having centers, priority list of all the research that has to be done in the UAE. We do have a lot of stuff that we can work on the medical sides, concerns about diabetes, hypertension, cancer. We are a unique populations. Not everything has been studied in different populations. It should be implemented here. We need to be creative. As Lakhat Noor, I don't know if she is here or she left, I think. She said, creative comes from survival. You need to create something to survive, basically.
Please.
I want to add something here. Thank you, Dr. Habib. I'm a member of 15 scientists or experts within UNESCO to improve the curriculum for STEM for the whole world for girls. So it's interesting, we met a few months ago, and we are 15 from around the world, from Africa, America, UK. I present the Arab world, and from around the world. And we find out education is important. For me, most of the girls around the world facing the same problem, which is confidence. Second is the encouragement from within the family. But the most important thing, which is I introduced to that idea, is the impact. I think Dr. Maryam will talk about it now, how I'm going to link what she learned to the impact in society. Why I am encouraging girls and boys to be scientists. What is the point of that? Why I want a lot of number? It doesn't make any difference to me if there is no impact for it later on to impact society. I think we need to have the link or the from the start, how we can have the creative minds, how we inject the tools of creativity and imagination within the young generation, because the outcome of that is innovation, because innovation is power. And that's most of the great countries in the world, why they are so great and strong, because of the power of innovation. And so that's what is the link is missing in most of the our Arab world, is how I link it to the impact. I think we're now trying to create the jobs, create the infrastructure, but we need to work from the start how to link into the impact. Because for me, as I mentioned, I mean, now last September, first time ever in United Nations, all members of states agreed that science and technology should be the key element when you take any political decisions for sustainability. And I've been chosen one of these 10 experts to implement science and technology around the world, especially for developing world. Why? Because with science and technology, I'm talking to young generation here and the decision makers and whatever, science and technology is the answer to get rid of poverty, hunger, clean water. I need the clean water for children who are dying, millions of them in Vietnam or somewhere in the world because they don't have clean water. I need science and technology for good health, for renewable energy. How many of us, think about electricity every day? Is the great invention ever happened for us? We take it for granted. 2 hours of electricity in rural Africa, it's mean 2 hours of operating theater to save lives. 2 hours for young generation to learn in school. 2 hours it mean for somebody to cook and sell the food and earn money. So sustainability, we need empowering women. Also from science and technology, creativity, entrepreneurship, diverse economy, climate change. So I'm saying now we're thinking about the impact, how much we are destroying the world, and now we are returning back to science and technology. And I know the answer for most of the problem. Don't misunderstand me here, women and science. But the most important thing, how I link science and society from the start. So I need the impact, the link, when I create them, when I give them the tools of imagination as a young boys and girls, 5 years old, I need to see the impact of that in going to prosperous our society.
Great, thank you. That kind of raises the question, at least in my head, around the stakeholders. So this is a community, and Dr. Maryam, you said earlier there has to be a bridge between science and community. You are in a unique position because you are a student, you're a physician, you were part of the government, the first Undersecretary of Health who's a woman in the CDA. Can you talk to me a bit about what roles the different stakeholders can play?
Allow me to share with you the whole journey of my career development and how the whole concept of impact to be in mind from the first step would help a lot. When I graduated from the medical college, it was back in 2000. So I mentioned that yesterday. I had a whole dream to be a plastic surgeon. I love myself. I love looking young. My nightmare is the wrinkle around my eyes. So from that day, I was always thinking that I'll empower myself with the knowledge, with the skill, which I will maintain a young Maryam Matar till the age of 103, as you know that we will live, inshallah, till 103, with the strong bond. Anyhow, so when I had my rotation in in Dubai Health Authority, I went to Thalassemia Center, and I had to do my rotation only for 2 weeks. When I went there and I saw the feeling and the way parents look to each other when they get their child to be transfused because of a gene which they give him because they didn't screen before getting married, And that itself really was alarming view and scenario in my eyes. So I went back and I did a very brief search about thalassemia. That was back in 2000. And at that time I saw a very successful story which was in Sardinia. They were celebrating 11 years that no single child born with thalassemia. And I went, what a magic stick they had to do and to get that huge achievement. They've done nothing. Simply what they've done, they enforce law. They enforce law that whoever are carrier of this disease, they will not be treated from the from the money from the government. They will not be covered with health insurance, and the church will not approve their marriage. So they need to be fully responsible of treating their child if he will be affected with the disease and born with thalassemia. So I went and I drafted a proposal of two page to my senior in that time in Al Wasl Hospital. And I told them, Doctor, we don't have a legislation which enforce the screening before the marriage only for those people who would like to have a fund from marriage fund, because the government pays 70 dirham for Emirati when they get to marriage with each other. And lots of nice ideas to start campaign with the universities and college, screen the student before they graduate from the college. I do remember when I took that page to him, he told me, Maryam, that's really great, very nice, Binti. But Maryam, you're just graduate, Mama. Yani, please focus on your work, treat your patient. The patient will come to you. That's what you will do. It's the best thing, Maryam. Leave the legislation for the decision maker. خلي القوانين حق وزارة الصحة. أنتِ ركزي على شغلك. So when I came, I'll make it very short. So when I came back home, and my mother, every day she will see me happy, smiling, talking about the story with my patient. She saw me unhappy. She said, Mama, شو بلاك مويمة, which means why you are not feeling good. I told her the story. Then she said, what can you do? I told her that they need to be screened. Within less than an hour, my mother, she came back to me. My mother, she is illiterate. She doesn't read and write, but she is full of wisdom. So she told me, Mama, in our neighborhood, I'm living here in Dubai. So every Friday, the lady, they gather for gossiping from 9 to 11 with the best coffee, best dessert. So she said, Mama, what about this week on Friday? I'll call the lady. And this time, instead of gossiping, please, can you tell us what we can do? And our neighbor's son getting married with the other neighbor's daughter, so I'll make sure they will come and you tell them what they have to do and where they can go and screen themselves. Imagine from a small initiative of my mother back in 2000. By 2005, I was a guest of honor in the cabinet when a legislation of pre-marital investigation was signed by His Highness. It was in force. So when I changed all my major, so I had another outcome that I want this legislation to be in place, and I have to make sure the new generation of UAE by 2032, they will have a better quality than mine. So I changed my career, I changed my specialty, I went to community medicine, and now I'm in the field of genetic. So what I've done, I start community activities. In the afternoon, I'll go and do my clinic in the primary healthcare clinic. But in the morning, I will initiate, I will volunteer, running everywhere, giving talk about the importance of such thing, and empowering myself. I was a physician. As a doctor, you know how to treat, but you don't know how to manage finance, you don't know how to manage many things. So my message to the young generation, and an answer to your questions, we shouldn't wait for the government to do the change. We shouldn't wait for this bridge to be built. Every one of us can do great work. If we will start with one mission, believe me, I started alone, but suddenly I saw myself, I'm on a table of all the Director General of Dubai government. I am in the majlis of all the ruler of United Arab Emirates, from Abu Dhabi till Fujairah. And I was not even in any senior position. I was only a physician. But when the community will see that a scientist or a person in health science having a very clear outcome for the community, she is working, she's studying in genetics and medicine, but her aim is to empower her community and to make sure that there is legislation, there is enough human resource, there is a proper research center, but will end up with a mission which will help the community. It's not only me getting my PhD or getting my specialty. I do that for myself, but in the end of the day, I plan my vision, which will reflect directly throughout the process to the community.
So you've identified kind of, two main stakeholders, let's say. It's the self, the individual, which sometimes we don't think of us as stakeholders. The community, I think also the government. Dr. Hayat, with your work in I2, you talk about
Ecosystem.
ecosystem. And you talk about an ecosystem and essentially what entrepreneurship and social innovation can do as part of that. Can you tell us a little bit more about this, and specifically in terms of how we can increase the number of women in STEM fields?
I'm going to give a presentation after this about I2.
Give us a litmus.
I just want to add more about the stakeholders. I think very important to have the governments, investors. Unfortunately, our investors, if you want to talk about social innovation, which is mean how I'm going to change a product, idea to product, how I'm going to have the tools of science and technology lift up the community from hardship. Social innovation is a completely different thing. Just if I wanted to encourage people to be scientists, fine. But I am very much pro social innovation. That's mean I need the whole community, the ecosystem of donors, families, inventors, government, to be all of them within part of that change. And to be able to increase that, if you wanted to increase the social innovation and empowerment of women, actually we need to give them the means to do that. We need to give them the opportunity, and they need to themselves to have a confidence and believe in themselves. That's very crucial. To be part of the Shura Council, very important to work hand in hand with the science policy. Because that around the world, we suffer, around the world from suffer, that the gap between science and policy is quite huge. And we just produced a report to the Ban Ki-moon, we just handed it to him last week, about the sustainability of science and about how we can reduce the gap between science and policy. Interface is crucial, because it's very important to have scientists or to have medical doctors or part of that world within a cabinet of a government, because the translation of the importance of science, who will do that to the government? Because the real changes only happen at the government level. Yes, we have to work on ourselves, but also great decision needs to come from the leadership positions.
So what policies would you push for? If the main stakeholder, you're saying, is the government, you as a doctor, who has a lot of experience, who has a lot of exposure to many different regions in the world, what policy changes do you think need to happen? For example, let me draw the example of Saudi Arabia, where you are from. Vision 2030, National Transformation Plan, National Transformation Program, one of the main goals is to increase the percent of women in the labor force from, I think it said 22% to 30%. How do we ensure that translates into women in science? What policies would you?
We start with education. We start also with how we attract them. I think a very important point Habiba mentioned. I'm a part of Nifty 50 group nominated by Harvard to go around school to inspire young girls to become a scientist. And wherever I go to any school, when I ask them to draw a picture of a scientist, they only draw a picture of an old, bald guy with the glasses. Okay, so the stereotype of Hollywood, stereotype of the freaky geek type of scientist, and it has to be a male, that has to change. So education and inspiring young generation, and also see the impact of that, because a lot of women, as Dr. Maryam mentioned and my colleague here, they want to have a career, they want to have an impact, and they have money. What is the point for me to go on something that I doesn't have at the end of the day work for? So policies have to change the workforce for women. Policy change the education for women. policy change to have women more in leadership position and to have take a rightful direction of the role of science?
Sorry, but I just, would you potentially come up with quotas?
Yes, I want to say.
Is that something that you think?
Enforce that.
Yeah. So positive discrimination is.
I will enforce that.
Okay.
Believe me, if I will have a chance to set one legislation toward women or science especially, not only women, I will enforce a law which will force each profit organization, whatever is nationality, any company who would like to work in United Arab Emirates, do a business, I will not enforce tax on them. I will enforce 2.5% of not their profit, of their income should go back to an organization which supports science, either scientists supporting research or whatever. Every single organization who would like to do a business in United Arab Emirates, 2.5 from their income, not their revenue. Their income should go to the community and specifically to science, because the rest of the community support government will take care of. But that part really will have a huge impact, in my opinion.
Okay. Mrs. Totanjian, I want to focus on, we talked about different stakeholders. I want to talk about civil society institutions and how you bring together, I know there's a program that ICBA recently launched about basically training women in science, and that included the Islamic Development Bank, ICBA, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Can you talk to us a little bit about that program and how that can be scaled across the region?
Yes, I will do that, but before that I want to add on you asked about what is it that is making the UAE unique than other Arab countries. If you look at empowering women, you are requiring a shift in social norms. And when you want to shift social norms, you have to address the key influencers in any society. In the UAE, given its size and the uniqueness of it, when the leadership puts a policy and puts a vision, the other key influencers in society move. You look at other Arab countries and there's a little bit of a conflict between what the leadership sets and maybe what the other key influencers in society are. And you look at those are the schools, the educators, the school textbooks that put certain stereotyping for women. Those are the media and what they relay and how they portray women and in which role models they place them, in which boxes. And they're the religious leaders, and there are others also in society. So we need to look at those dimensions and how they work together. Who influences the opinions and the storylines of the average citizen and creates those social norms whereby if a woman chooses a certain career path, she is either accepting the social norm or she is putting on her back and the back of her family that she's going against the norm, and this creates social pressure. So we need to look at those dimensions. Now, regarding the Tamkeen program, we are launching a program, yes, it's supported by the Islamic Development Bank and the Bill Melinda Gates Foundation. And it is to build on the fact that Dr. Hayat mentioned earlier, women in science, in universities across the MENA region, they are in high numbers. They are even the achievers. They bring higher numbers in school, in marks and in everything. But then when we go into science, for us, our concern is agriculture in terms of science, their numbers grow drastically down. And maybe if they do enter into science, they stay in the low levels of science. They don't move ahead. And agriculture provides the food that we eat, and women have a big stake in it. And they work in the farms as well. So what we decided to do is, let's see a program of how do we enable women to grow, to become decision makers in the agricultural field. And that's across all the MENA region, by the way. We haven't seen many differences in the agricultural sector. And the starting point for us is to look at what really women need. So I cannot say how we were going to scale it right now, because we need to understand, if we want to change the culture, if we want to empower the women, we need to understand the barriers they're facing. And that's why we're doing focus groups within each region to understand these barriers and to understand if there's a difference between the barriers women in the GCC are facing than those in the Levant are facing, than those in the Maghreb are facing. So I would be able to answer your question much better in 4 to 5 months once we get the feedback from the women back.
Very good. Dr. Habiba, we come full circle on that topic of women dropping off after university and not pursuing careers in science. What can be done from a policy perspective, do you think, in order to guarantee that women enter, after they graduate in STEM fields, they enter into the field that they were trained in? Briefly, please, sorry, because we're over time.
I think as Dr. Hayat said, it's create job opportunity for them in research by building state-of-art centers. I know Ministry of Higher Education are doing a great job of providing scholarship to pursue postgraduate studies for women and male, to have more emphasis in the science. It's also for universities to have like kind of incentive or scholarships for top scientists to pursue their PhD. As I always say, PhD is permanent head damage, but it's worth it. So I think also adopt a lot of programs like L'Oreal Women, Science for Women programs, encourage them more into the field of science.
Great. Are there any questions? Maybe we can take 2 questions. Okay, before you, any second question? Just one? Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Shubham. I am from IMT Dubai. I want to ask that when it comes to workplace, women are paid less in terms of compensation, be it anywhere across the globe. So what do you think is the main reason or the psychology running behind this? And how does it act as a deterrent for the women to step into the STEM research and all?
Who would like to?
From academia, male and female are paid the same, but it's based on a strict education level. That's from the academia and faculty of female and male, but I don't know others industrial.
I've worked in organizations that mainly also have open salary and grade policies, but it is coming out that there is a disparity in the
because
payment.
there are a lot of cultural and social differences between the parts of the globe, but this is common in all the regions.
Yes.
So how this psychology...
Sorry, I wonder if it's an issue of equal pay, which is important.
Yes.
But I think also our panelists indicated that women are not reaching these leadership levels to be able to compare the payment that is being made between men and women. So for example, if you look at a pyramid and you look at the top, there's the percent of women there are lower than men. Maybe once they get there, potentially there might be based on what we heard from just 2 of the panelists, it seems that payment seems to be around the same. But women are not even getting there in the first place.
Okay.
That's it, okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thanks.
Very well.